All right, welcome back, 1019. It is Thursday. A little cool today, but sunshine, no storms like we had yesterday. Hope that you and your neighborhood were safe, because I know there were a lot of damage in a lot of places, including not just here, but my home area of southern West Virginia and eastern Kentucky got pounded pretty well as well. So hopefully where you live, everything is cool, and got off to a great start today. Clay Hendrix is the new football coach. I think people probably know that by now, the new football coach here at Furman University, and has been kind enough to come upstairs and join us to kind of catch us up on how things are going. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Pull that microphone up just a little bit there. It's a little.
All right. There
we go. That's good. We were kind of talking a moment ago, now that you've gotten down mostly to just football-related stuff, your pace has slowed to a sprint now, right?
It has. It has. You know, it was, told somebody it's exciting to actually get to go practice. We practiced Friday and Saturday, you know, and had some, you know, we've been doing a little fundraising, so we had some commitments earlier in the week that we had committed to, and then we were actually going to come back yesterday, and we made a good decision not to try to practice. It was actually going to be an evening practice, and we changed that. So we're going to go today and then turn around and go again tomorrow, and then our kids leave for spring break. So we're trying to get 4 days in before they go on break.
Well, obviously we want to talk about the practices and how things have gone early on, but let's back up before we do that, because you've been on this 5-city Clay Hendrix, Mike Buddy World Tour, going out to meet fans in different parts of the country, in the southeastern part of the country anyway, where Furman fans are prevalent. And I know Clint Hill's goal, try to raise $1 million for the football program and get people excited, and season tickets and all those other things. How did those stops go as far as you were concerned?
You know, it's going really well. I guess we were twice in Atlanta, Charleston, Charlotte, one here in Greenville, Nashville. Now I think we have another one here in a couple of weeks.
Oh, there is still one more.
Well, there's kind of a wrap-up business breakfast here in a couple of weeks.
I got you.
You know, I thought it's going really well. People have really been excited. I've never seen people this excited. You know, I've been here a long time, you know, with the separation there. But people have been really excited about Furman and Furman football specifically, which is exciting for us. And, you know, just trying to, you know, really for us, this has just been the way we operate our program, you know, and the way we run our program, and trying to raise some funds and awareness for that. You know, recruiting and staff retention, and again, people, I kind of leave the dollars and cents up to the other guys. But it has gone well. It really has.
Well, when Mike Buddy was first announced as the athletic director here, the very first function that I got a chance to talk to him was the fan day prior to football 2 years ago, and he described himself as Furman's shiny new toy that everybody wanted to talk to. You're kind of the next version of Furman's shiny new toy. Everybody wants to talk to you. Everybody's excited. And I told you this when we had a chance to chat the first time. In about 20 years of covering Division I athletics on a day-in, day-out basis, I've not seen a level of excitement around a place surrounding a hire anywhere I've been, anywhere I've worked. This building, this campus just seems to be vibrating over the anticipation of this upcoming football season.
Well, you know what? I think one of the things that's helped us is the basketball has gone so well this year. I mean, that's been really fun. You know, that whole environment Saturday in there with Wofford here, the last, you know, senior day, and that was pretty neat. You know, I hadn't seen that many times in all the years I've been here. I think the last time I was in an environment like that at a Furman basketball game, we were playing the old Memorial Auditorium. George Quarles and I were talking about, right? George and I were together back. I think George was a GA and I was a young coach here back in the early 90s. And so that's been fun. And, you know, we you know, from a football standpoint, we've tried to build upon that a little bit as well. And it just shows you that, you know, we've certainly won here before and won big, and there's no reason why we can't do it again, and that's the way we're approaching it. And that's, you know, I hired a bunch of guys that were winners. You know, one of the I wouldn't say it's a prerequisite, but you look at our staff, guys have been used to winning one in a big way, good people, can recruit Furman kids, and it's been our goal. We're going to win big and win here and win big with true student athletes, just as we always have. And I believe in that, and that's important to me, and that's the kind of kids we're going to go after. And you know what? We've got those kinds of kids here too. They've
Absolutely.
been a good group.
When you made these stops, first of all, just for instance, in a place like Nashville, what was the crowd like? And then at every stop, what was the central theme that you were pushing when you spoke to the crowd?
You know what? Nashville might have been one of they were all pretty good, but Nashville, we had a room full. It was a morning breakfast, and it was downtown Nashville. And I think the thing that's probably a little bit neat there, it's about 6 hours away, 5.5, 6 hours away. So they're maybe a little bit more removed than certainly Atlanta or Charlotte. But no, it was, we kind of had a little question and answer. George Quarles went with me. That gave me a little instant credibility in the state of Tennessee when George was there.
Hey, you're no dummy now. Come on, you know what you're supposed to do.
No question, George recruiting up there, and we've got some really good players from that area. That should be a great area for us. Just the nature of the schools and the level of football, but no, those people were excited as well. And it's really just been about. I think as a Furman, as a group, we're a small school. Relatively small alumni base as compared to a lot of other bigger schools. We're a group that really needs to stick together, and really collectively, I think we can accomplish a lot, even from a financial standpoint. If we get a lot of people involved, that are supporting us, whatever the amount is. I think every little bit helps. But it was really, I think the real emphasis has been just trying to increase awareness just about the way we operate and understand, the cost of doing business.
Right.
Sometimes, and we're in good shape scholarship-wise. Our facilities here are really good. We certainly have a really good school. I know Mike really pressed upon those four factors is those two, and then staff. And we've hired a great staff, and I certainly would like to keep them around here, and having a means to be able to make it where they want to stay, and then again, just the way we operate, the way we recruit. We've typically recruited around here in the spring, really, which is one of the most important times. You're identifying your targets for the next year, and it's the end of the fiscal year, and I think a lot of years around here they've recruited with what they had left. Which is usually not a lot. And so just trying to increase that so we can really do our homework on kids. We're making a big investment in a kid here. You're talking a $250,000 investment. And,
right.
Recruiting is not a science. There are going to be mistakes made. But my thought is just don't let it happen because we're not asking the questions and doing our background stuff.
And the more resources you have to do more of the homework you can do in advance.
And the more times you can be out, correct. You can talk to the coach and you can talk to the guidance counselor. You can't do anything with kids off campus right now. And then just trying to get them here. Trying to get kids here for spring practice. And it was really surprising to me how many kids we dealt with even in this last recruiting cycle that were 2 hours away, had never been here, had never set foot on the campus, not to mention downtown Greenville.
Right.
So it's a process, but just trying to raise the awareness and get people on board. And, as I said, we're undefeated and still rolling right now, so everybody's happy. So just trying to build on a little bit of momentum. And again, the basketball's been a huge help.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you can stay undefeated, you're in good shape, right?
No doubt.
This is, as our high-tech graphics folks are telling you, Furman head coach Clay Hendrix coming off of the fundraising tour, although I guess technically while that particular tour is done, that chore never really ceases for somebody, whether it's you or whether it's Mike or whoever it is. Fundraising is a conscious and consistent thing that goes on.
No question. And you know what? I mean, one of the things we've tried to emphasize is, the Paladin Club still raises dollars for scholarships, and we certainly don't want to interfere with that. And, so trying to continue to push that. The Players Association here has been a huge support of ours. For
Right.
they've kind of been doing this same thing for quite a while. And Mike made this statement. Can you imagine a lot of other places where you've relied largely on your graduate players to support your program? And here it's been phenomenal, probably better than most Power 5 places. But you can just imagine a Power 5 school relying largely on their ex-players to support them. And I'm sure there are a lot of them that do. But our bunch has done a great job of that. But it's also a means for people who maybe weren't ex-players. We've never excluded the Furman fan from the Players Association and the golf tournament, things that we do, and we would love to have them as part of that. We just think this is another arm of that allows, there is a way for somebody who maybe didn't play football here, doesn't even have to be a graduate, but at least to get involved with Furman football.
Well, you just have to you have to do the numbers to see what kind of challenge a school like Furman faces when you're talking about a school here that has about 2,800 students total, and you look at the school down the road that's probably graduating somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,000-8,000 every year, or something like that. Same thing down in Columbia, probably more in Columbia, maybe 10 or 12,000 a year down in Columbia, and here at Furman, maybe we're graduating 500 or 600 a year, or 700 maybe, depending on the size of a senior class. Over the course of a decade, those numbers start to add up. So when you aim at a target, you have to be very specific and have to be very accurate when you're hitting that target.
Well, you do, and I think the other thing you have to keep in mind, Furman graduates are all over the country, and a lot of them have done extremely well, but they're, which gives them a lot of opportunities, but they are literally all over the country. I know there's certainly a good core of them here in the upstate, but they are everywhere, and trying to reach out to them as much as we can. And again, you think, we are in student body wise, I know we're continually trying to expand. We try to do that in recruiting, but again, it comes down to, where do you put your resources?
Exactly.
In recruiting.
All right, so let's talk about some on the field stuff. You actually got a chance to get out on the field, as you said, for a couple of days, and going to go today and tomorrow. It looks like you're going to have good weather to do so before the kids go away for spring break. How have the players, especially on the offensive side, grasped this new offense? I mean, the last time I talked to you and to Brian Bratton and to Coach Quarles, you guys were still sitting in the room kind of throwing things out to see exactly what you were going to do and what you were going to even call the offense. And I think Brian termed it the hybrid. So you guys, I'm hoping, finally got a grip on it. How have the players gotten a grip on what you're throwing at them?
The players have handled it well. We've done 2 days of install. I think we set up originally about a 6-day plan of install. And, I've done this a long time, and I've done it a couple of different ways. Sometimes there's the approach that we spoon feed them a little bit as we go. And then there's the fire hose mentality, and we went with the fire hose mentality. We threw a lot at them, particularly the first 2 days. And just put a lot in, and we will continue to do that. And, at the end of the day, we'll have to adapt what we're doing to what our guys can do.
Right.
And then, we certainly would like to recruit certain guys, for a certain philosophy.
But the only way you know what they can do is by doing it, right?
That's
Exactly.
right. And we may get halfway through the spring, say, we have to slow it down, and we're not going to install any more stuff. But that's not been the case so far. Yeah. So, Chad Staggs, our defensive coordinator, looked at me the other day and said, "How much offense do y'all have in?" And a lot of formations, a lot of different things. But really, it's been an adjustment for everybody. It's been an adjustment for me, just terminology and a lot of this stuff. Probably the core of the terminology in the system was similar to what Drew had done, just our language. But we did change some of that, so there were some adjustments for him. But it's a culmination. George Quarles said the other day, it's been kind of fun to watch and kind of interesting. It's kind of an interesting dynamic of things. We're, certainly going to be committed to run the football in a couple of ways and trying to be, when we're playing with tempo and trying to go a little fast and line up a lot of different ways, yet still be really aggressive. Downhill running the football, there's some option in there, and yet not sacrifice what we're doing in the throw game.
Mm-hmm.
And that, it's been, kids have been really good. There's been good energy, which, I think there's good energy everywhere when you practice the first 2 days with only helmets on.
Right.
We'll put pads on today. We'll see. It may change a little bit, but I don't think it will. And then, it's just when you got limited numbers, there's that fine line between getting your work done and being physical and do those things, yet trying to be as smart as you can, in just the way you go about. Because, you go bang the heck out of them for a couple of days and you lose a couple of guys, which is going to happen. They miss some practice. Then can you keep making progress? If you don't have guys out there. But,
Yeah,
we've been pretty lucky so far.
And I was going to ask you about that spring practice, especially at an FCS school where you have the low scholarship numbers anyway.
Right.
And you don't have the freshmen and the walk-on who will be here in the fall. So what are your numbers like now, and where are you maybe thin in some positions where you have to be careful about what you do?
Well, we're thin in a lot of spots. Really here, and we're even limited walk-on wise.
Yeah.
Just the nature of the school, cost, entrance requirements, that type thing. I don't know. We've probably got 70 kids out there on the field, give or take. A couple of kids, injuries from the season that are not out there. Probably thinnest defensive line, which you probably could ask every coach in America, and he probably tells you the same thing about that position. That's one of the reasons we went heavy in that area from a signee group. I think that group will go from being thin to having pretty good numbers, when we start practice in August. Safety, a little thin there. I think we've got some quality players in our secondary. It's just depth-wise, not totally sure where we are. But we're not overly deep at any position. But I don't think we're overly thin where we can't make progress in any position.
And I guess on one hand, maybe that's a blessing in disguise because it means that guys are going to get a lot of reps.
No question. Probably more than they want.
So you talk about putting the pads on today, and you're going to start hitting and start doing all those things, which is a totally different dynamic as we know. But once you get everything installed in a perfect world, once the games start, is there a run versus pass percentage that you're shooting at that if things are going well, this is what you'd like to do?
No, you've heard people say you want to be balanced, and I like to be balanced, but balanced doesn't mean 50-50. I think our thought run pass, I don't know if I could put a number up there, but I want to, I want to be able to complete a high percentage of passes, be really efficient. I think quarterbacks efficiency ratings, that's a good key stat. We don't throw picks, and if we throw some touchdown passes, that's a good thing, but complete a high percentage of them. If we can run the ball as well as we want to run it, then we know play action wise will be really good for us.
Right.
You'll see us in the gun a good percentage of the time, both to run and to throw it. But ultimately it gets down to get the ball to your playmakers. And I tell you one thing that's been pleasing, we got a couple of quarterbacks that I kind of like. I think they'll fit what we do well. They're athletic kids that throw the ball really well, and that's ultimately what we're looking for. We're certainly not looking for a running back as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Hope he has some running skills, and having feed is part of what we're doing. But just as important is just his ability to be able to be efficient in the throw game.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the quarterbacks anyway, because you've got a young man in P.J. Blazejowski who has played quite a bit of football here in his first 3 years. And then behind him, you have guys who've played next to no football here in their 3 years. So you've got a different dynamic. I know it's a different system and a different learning. Everybody has the same I guess, learning curve because you're throwing a brand new set of circumstances at him. But you do have a guy who's at least played quite a bit at this level here.
Right.
What's your comfort level with him? What's his comfort level with the offense right now?
I've been just impressed with how he's taken it in, and been a good leader in a lot of our off-season workout programs. He seems to get it, and it seems like he has a pretty good football mind. I've been around really smart kids for a long time. Both here and my time at the academy. That didn't always translate into football smarts, but he seems to be a guy that kind of understands the football. It's important to him. You can tell that. I think he's a competitor. You can watch that in some of the off-season. We've tried to implement as much competition as we can, even to our off-season workouts, and we'll have one-on-one segments every day in practice. Just make it as competitive where there's winners and losers. Because and just
now wait a minute, Clay. In society today, we don't have losers now. Come on.
Well, we're going to do a little board drill today, first thing there, and I told them today. I said, whoever's in charge of that board, somebody wins and somebody loses.
Yeah.
And the losers got a few up downs to do. We just got to get guys where they want to compete and they want to win. It's just changing the mentality a little bit, or I don't know, changing, but establishing our own identity and mentality. But just having guys that it hurts them to lose, and that's something we got to continue to impress upon them. That's the kind of team we got to be. We certainly have got to be we were going to be a developmental program, and over time, we'd like to play with older kids. We'd like to be an old football team. We're not that right now. We're actually kind of a relatively young football team. We'll be, and I could certainly see a handful of freshmen, play a role in some capacity in August. But no, I'm pleased with how they're working. Pleased with how the offensive install and the defensive work, how all that's kind of coming together. Somebody asked me today, okay, you've practiced twice. What's impressed you the most? I said the number one thing that's impressed me the most, I have no doubt I did a great job in hiring guys. That staff's going to be really, really good. And they'll do a great job recruiting, but it's just watching guys teach and coach and their energy, and hopefully we can keep a bunch of them around here for a long time. But that's been the most pleasing aspect of the whole thing.
Yeah, and a couple more things before we let you go. I wanted to talk a little bit about your staff because there's been so much talk, and we've even focused here on the offensive staff because things are going to be so unusual. But the defensive staff, you seem to be really, really excited about Chad Staggs and the folks that you've put underneath him. And I know you went heavy on that staff, guys from down at Charleston Southern, guys who know how to win, and guys who have had a top 5 type defense at the FCS level, top 10 type defense at the FCS level.
No doubt, so those guys have proven track record, against a lot of Southern Conference competition. And, it's probably not the easiest place to get it done. There's places where it's a little easier than other places, from facilities and those type things. But certainly there are ties to, the Carolinas, a couple of guys from there. And then we hired Addison Williams, who played at South Carolina and actually was a coordinator up at Tusculum. Left that just to come here to coach our corners. Atlanta native, so a lot of ties to the area. I've been really impressed with him. Dwayne Vaughn, we kept. Dwayne was on the staff. He's now moved over to outside linebackers. And then the fifth guy would have been, Ken Lamondola. Ken played for us at the academy. Another one of those guys. He's actually still a captain in the Air Force. We're getting separated right now. Was an all Mountain West Conference player for us as an Ohio native, and trying to get a little involved in Ohio recruiting up there, maybe a little bit with him, and as I've told people, tried to surround myself with a bunch of smart guys, and we got a bunch of guys that are really bright, energetic guys, and they can go recruit kids that can be successful here, and they could sit down in a home and recruit a Furman kid, and just for us, it's continuing to raise the bar, athletically and even academically. I've learned those really, really bright kids you have as players, they aren't struggling in school as much. They develop better as players, and so, that's kind of what we're shooting for going forward. But those that group's been a really good group. It's been really fun just to, most of us have been here single. A few single guys. In fact, Addison Williams getting married Saturday, but we've been here without families, so we've had a little more time to spend at the office. And sometimes that can be good, sometimes that can be bad, but it's been fun just to be around them. I'm the old guy. I remember when I was the young guy, but I'm the old guy now. But it's been fun. It really has been fun to go to practice and fun to be around those guys. And I think it's George Quarles and Chad Staggs are the two usually going at each other, in a good way. That's kept it fun.
In your experience, and then we'll talk about the rest of the practice schedule, and I'll let you go. In your experience, how long will it take for you to develop the kind of depth in this team where you have the kind of competition in practice that you want to? Because we all know that the more competition you have for spots in practice, it's going to lead to, better performance on the field on game day. How long does it take to get there?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure I can answer it, but, we felt really good about the group we signed. That was with a month to recruit, probably not a full month with our full staff. I think for us it's just continue to string a couple of good recruiting classes together. Retention is huge. That's why it all goes back to initially recruiting. You recruit the right kid, the right fit, but being able to retain guys. And, Furman's one of those places kids don't want to leave. I mean, you're in a great city. It's a great school. You're around really good people. And, some places you maybe sign a kid and he's maybe not the player or he doesn't play as much, then sometimes they move on and, at least the opening creates. There's a spot created there. I don't think that happens here a lot, because kids want it. So for us, it's, again, making really good decisions on the front end. And you're keeping really good players. They're wanting to stay here. They're wanting to graduate from here. So time frame, I don't know. I think we probably got to have a couple classes together.
Yeah.
I do think there's enough guys here now that I think we can help them a little bit schematically. Give our because I told them our plan is to win right now with who we have. But hopefully in a couple of years we get the depth where we want it.
Right.
And now you got old kids coaching young kids. Not only but really to me that's when your program gets to where it wants to be. When I'm still involved. Pete and I are kind of been working with those linemen to get where those older guys can coach those young guys. Well, right now the old guys are just trying to figure it out because it's all new to them.
Right. All right, so you're practicing today and tomorrow, and you've got spring break that'll take everybody away for a week, and you come back the following week. How many practices will you have left?
We come back, I think it's Monday the 13th is when they come back, and the kind of plan going forward is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. We have some class issues, afternoons, and, some field issues, that type thing we're having to work around, but probably Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. For probably the rest of the spring, those next 3 weeks, we'll have 11 days to go when we come back. Spring game, spring scrimmage, somebody asked me, I said, well, we'll call it whatever you want to call it. But the 25th of March is when we kind of plan. I think we're going to maybe go at 3 o'clock that day. We certainly will do some scrimmaging.
Yeah.
I just think you just got to be really smart about what our numbers are, how much you can just go out there and tackle and scrimmage and, and still be smart about it.
Right.
So we certainly have to do that because we got to be able to be tackled and tackle people. You find out a little bit more. That's the other thing. You can go out there and hit, but when you aren't tackling people on the ground, you still don't know something about some guys. That's
right.
That's the only way you kind of find it out. So it is playing that game that how much do you do it? Because I've learned a long time ago we can't beat anybody in March, but all of a sudden you lose a couple of key guys. That can affect you in August.
Absolutely.
And there's no way to control that because it is certainly a tough game, and injuries are part of it. But let's just try to be as smart as we can be as we go forward.
Well, again, I continue to say the excitement level around here is just off the charts, and I know that there are a lot of folks who are even spring practice excited about, hearing stories about helmets and pads going on and guys starting to hit, and just appreciate you coming up and spending some time with us to kind of update folks, and then maybe towards the end of the spring or after spring practice we can do it again.
That'd be great.
All right, Clay, thank you.
Thank you.
That is Clay Hendrix, the head football coach here at Furman University. We'll take a break and come back and close out the show right after this.
When it comes to commercial vehicles, break through the clutter with the new Sprinter Worker from Freightliner. Otherwise, your work van isn't getting it done. The Sprinter Worker carries over 1.5 tons with over 300 cubic